Hi, this is Makonas Pukani, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Today, I just want to outline some few reasons why people open church in a wrong way, or wrong reasons why people open church. Because there are people that will open church for different reasons. We know for sure. But the only right reason to open a church, of course, would be if you're called by God, He has given you a vision, and God has assigned you to open a church. Because that's very important, that we understand that there must be a calling. We understand that God would assign you to run a ministry that is supposed to address some few issues in life, and therefore you would open a church. But there are a lot of wrong reasons why people open churches, and that's what I want to just speak about right now, so that I can warn those people that are opening churches because of wrong reasons to understand that the church may not be sustainable when you're opening it with wrong reason, because it's not easy to run a church. And I've said this in the past lessons as well, that we must understand that you mustn't desire to be like pastors that are running churches, because it's not easy to run a church. There are people that actually get excited by seeing pastors running churches, and they think that they are actually finding it easy. But those pastors, they can tell you that they are called by God, and some wish like they were not called. Some wish like God can say, no, I was joking, so please leave the ministry. So, but because they are called, they remain focused to the cause. They become focused to the calling. They become focused to the will of God that He has put upon their lives. But not that it is nice, because there are many of people that know that, that don't know that ministry is difficult. Ministry is tough, and there's no smooth sailing with the ministry. And many who knows ministry will tell you that ministry is not only the pulpit on a Sunday morning. Ministry is not only preaching, because many people relate ministry with the glamour of preaching, with the glamour of standing in front of people, dressed nicely and addressing the people. So people look at it that way, and they think that that is ministry. But I want to urge you to understand that ministry is far more than that. And ministry actually doesn't happen in church. It happens out there in the community. It doesn't happen on a Sunday morning, but it happens actually midweek, when people are calling the pastor because they've got problems. When the pastor goes out to do premarital counseling, when the pastor goes out and counsel people in their problems. That's seriousness of ministry. And ministry is when you go out as a minister to go and help people of their needs. And that's very key. And that's not an easy job to do at all. And that is why many people open churches, because they think that they're going to make money. They think that they are going to accumulate financial supply. They're going out there. They think that they're going to see money flock into their pockets. But I want to urge you to understand that a ministry is not about money. Because if you drive ministry because you're looking for money, then you are in a wrong business. So maybe you should actually go and open a business. Because ministry is not about money. It's difficult. And many pastors will tell you, particularly in the past years of COVID-19, when churches were closed, it was even more difficult. Because members were just not concerned, and they were not considerate even about their pastors. And pastors struggled. And some even went to an extent of even selling instruments of the church. Some went even go to an extent of closing and shutting the doors of the church. And some didn't even open again after the lockdowns, because it was difficult financially. So therefore, money should not be an attraction to a ministry, because you may come thinking that money is there, and money is not there. And many pastors are struggling financially because of the ministry, because many pastors are using money from their own pockets actually to finance the ministry. They're using money from their own families to finance the ministry. And they can tell you that they have actually suffered by investing a lot into the ministry, but nothing is coming back financially. So it's not as easy as you think. So therefore, you cannot open a church because of money. Now, the other reason that you see people opening churches is starting out of anger caused by your senior pastor, because there are those that walk out of churches, they walk out of their local churches because they had some arguments or even conflicts with their pastor, senior pastors. Now, because you are angry with your pastor, you think that it's time for you to walk out and go and open your own church. That's the big mistake. And I want to tell you now that if you're going to open a church because of anger, you are an angry man or angry woman, ministry is not going to work for you, because ministry doesn't need wounded people and people that are hurt and bitter, people that will actually stand in front of people and start preaching bitterness. So ministry needs you to be sober and to be accepting the calling of the Lord, soberly so, and not because you are angry and you go and rush and open a church. I want to tell you now that if you walk out of a church and you don't have a good relationship with your pastor, go and make peace with your pastor. Go and discuss with your pastor and make peace, because that's very important. That's the first option. If your discussion doesn't yield the results, you cannot actually make peace. So therefore, make sure that you move on to another church and submit there, and make sure that when you are there, you're submitting. And if you have caused conflicts with your senior pastor, so please go and ask for forgiveness so that you are released in peaceful manner, and you don't go to another church with this heart, with this heart that is bitter, with this heart that's miserable, because you're going to cause trouble in the next church that you're going in. So therefore, please make sure that you don't open a ministry because you are hurt by your own senior pastor and you are bitter, so therefore you open a church. There are those that are starting out churches because of peer pressure. There are those people that open churches because they are friends, and all their friends run churches. All their friends are pastors. All their friends are having their own churches. So you feel pressure and you go out there and open a church. And I want to tell you now that a ministry is not friendships. So therefore, if you go out and open a church because your friends have opened churches, you will feel it when you get there, because it's going to be tough, brother. It's going to be tough, sister. So please don't open a church because all your friends have opened churches. Ministry, as I've said, is not for mama's babies. It's not for eating and drinking. It's not actually for money-making scheme. It's not an easy thing that you think that because your friends have opened churches, therefore you can open one. That doesn't work that way. And I want to urge you as a man and woman that please be careful not to open a church just because your friends have opened churches, not because you have peer pressure. Don't open a church because of that. There are those that are starting churches just to compete with others and proving a point as well. Now, there's no point to prove here. There's no point to prove about the ministry. So if you're opening a church because you want to prove a point that you can be a Mr. Speaker as well, that you think that you can be a Mr. Orator as well, you can stand in front of other people and in front of people like your peers are standing, like your friends are standing, or like the person next door, the pastor next door. You think that you can actually show off that you can do it as well. That is going to be tough, brother. That's not going to be easy for you. So therefore, be careful not to open a church just because you want to prove a point, not because you want to compete with anybody. So please, be careful of this, because a ministry should be based on a vision. So therefore, if you're having a vision, your vision cannot be like the vision of the next door. Your vision cannot be like the vision of your brother. The vision cannot be like the vision of your friend as well. So please be careful that you've got a clear vision of your own. So therefore, you cannot compete with other people because visions are not the same. So that, you must be careful of that and be honest with yourself and ask yourself if you're called by God, and that's the only reason that you'll think of opening a ministry or a church. I warn you about that. There are those that are starting churches because of failure to submit. You are starting a church because you just cannot submit anymore. And you move from one church to another, you just cannot submit to anybody. That cannot be good enough reason. Because if you cannot submit, you must not expect other people to submit to you. Because this is a spirit of lack of submission that will transfer to other people. So it's a transferable spirit that will transfer even to your members. If you as a senior pastor cannot submit anywhere, or you could not submit where you're coming from, don't expect people to submit to you, because this is the same spirit that you should expect from your people. Because if you cannot submit to anybody, nobody should submit to you, or nobody can submit to you as well. And that is one point that I want you to be aware of. So be careful of that as well, because that's very, very important. There are those people that start in churches because they are power hungry. because they want to control, because they want to be powerful, they want to be honored and respected according to them. They want to control other people. There are those people that have opened churches because they want to control and manipulate people. They are hungry for power. They are hungry to be senior to other people and to sit on top of people's heads and control them. And that is the wrong way of approaching ministry. That is the wrong reason for you to open a church. And I want to urge you, if that is your reason, then you are in a wrong place as well. So please unfold or wash the nets and please go and submit somewhere. And that is the reason why we're having people that are running churches, yet they're manipulating people. Yes, they are control freaks as well. They're controlling people, and they forget that the very same members in your church, Pastor, you're not paying them to be in your church. So please don't manipulate people, don't oppress people, and don't take people for granted either, because if you do so, remember they can always move to the next door church because you're not paying them to be members. They've come there because of their own volition and decisions. So please don't manipulate people. But that is made by people that are power hungry, and they've actually opened churches because of power hunger that they have, and that will not sustain the ministry at all. There are those that have started churches just because you're financially strong to buy resources. You can buy instruments, you can actually rent a hall, or even buy a land to build a church. You can do that, and now you open a church just because you've got finances. That is the wrong reason as well. If you've got finances, you want to use them, please, in the church where you're submitting, give them the money. Let them use it for building. Give them the money. Let them use it for buying a land. Give them the money. Let them use it to buy, to pay for the utilities of the church and amenities of the church as well. So that's very important that we understand that having money doesn't necessarily make you a pastor. Having money doesn't necessarily make you a called man of God, because at the end of the day, the fivefold ministry should be that somebody is called by God and has got a vision that God has called you for. So having money must not be itching your hand to think that you can be a pastor and open a church. That is not on either. So there are those that are opening churches just because you can preach well. That's not the right way, because I've said earlier that preaching is not ministry at all. So preaching is not the only aspect of ministry. So you cannot, because you are preaching, think that you can be a pastor, because there are those that should preach as brothers, a brother that can preach. Those are just fathers that can preach in the church. Let them just be father so-and-so, or mother so-and-so who can preach, or sister so-and-so who can preach the gospel. So that should be that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should open a church, because remember, ministry is not all about preaching. I want to emphasize that. But ministry is far deeper than that. So be careful of that, and please make sure that you open a ministry for right reasons. I want to end up here today. Your host, Makona Spokane. Thank you very much for listening to us once more, and I believe that you've learned quite a bit today from here, and you will do the right thing. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and make sure that you click that notification button, and so that it can notify you when we are loading videos. And that YouTube channel, Google it as Makona Spokane. Makona Spokane, Google it and get it, and please subscribe, and may the good Lord bless you. And join us tomorrow as we deal with another topic, and cheers for now.